I got the money already. How can we handle this? How can we still sell them a policy? And I think this is how I think about it when we're selling insurance. We don't know what the future brings, right? I think tying this back into basically folkisms, right? Like there's no promise for tomorrow. Who knows what the future brings, right? That kind of stuff. It helps kind of the average person kind of see things more clearly because they've heard that stuff all their life and they know it's intuitively true. But for some reason, there's this dissonance or disconnect with how they're perceiving what you're selling versus those kind of truisms and folkisms. Does that make sense? So in other words, what I would call this is like, I would categorize this as known needs versus unknown needs, right? Our job, there are needs that our clients know they have, like living day to day. But there are unknown needs that it's our job to uncover. They have those needs. And once they see the light, literally, figuratively, they now they know those needs are real, and therefore they do need what we're selling. So sometimes, not always, your job, you have to uncover these needs. That's why I don't like to say create the need. You're not really creating the need. Like in Joe's sense, he's not like, oh, wow, I never thought about what if. It's actually what he's done is he's gone through the what ifs with the prospect, and the client has arrived at his personal decision that there is really still no need. So he's tried to uncover if there was an unknown need, but there wasn't. So it's not a client who has any need, therefore not qualified. Does that make sense, everybody? So here's where we're going with this. We take things for granted in life, right? Like that's just the human condition. Bad things happen to other people. That's the nature of everybody to various extents. Our clients have had bad things happen to them, but I think I don't know what it is, if it's a survival or coping mechanism. We're not walking around thinking of all the bad things that can happen to us all the time. We'd be an anxious mess if that was the case. I think one way to cope with it is just to not think about it. But that's the role that we play. We're the ultimate disturbing force when it comes to the welfare of our client, even if it's talking about things they don't want to hear. That's our job, right? So, for example, your job is to challenge the preconceived notions that your client has about where their life will go, right? Will they live a life where they just live and then just croak one day and they don't suffer? Probably not. That's not realistic. And the clients had personal experience probably where all sorts of bad things unexpectedly happen to people they know who died. And the truth is, if we're humble, as in the prospects are humble enough to recognize that, they'll see that they're no different. That it's likely that bad things will happen to them, granted enough time has passed, and they need to be prepared for the what ifs. All of this is to say, you have to challenge these ideas. For example, like I think a really good one to bring up that Melissa mentioned, this is something I think I failed to do as an agent, but I understand it better now as I've gotten older, is the cost of dying in the sense of suffering, a nursing home, right? And how that dramatically impacts your finances and how that changes everything. If you're not prepared for that to face that reality, then you're going to be in a position where if it happens to you, and it happens to a large, I think it's a pretty big percentage of Americans, that they're going to drain their financial assets to try to fund this thing and stay alive. So the point is, we have to have them question what they think they have as being enough and sufficient. So all of this is say, I've tried to give some backstory here in a sense of how would you handle this and kind of the thought process here and what your job is, which is to challenge the preconceived notions. Your job is to basically challenge what they're saying. So $10,000, great. That's awesome. Using Melissa's lines, well, what happens if you end up in a nursing home for a couple of months and you have to spend all that? 40% of Americans have to. I think that's the number. That's a pretty good chance you'll end up there. Or what happens if your daughter or somebody you love needs the money? Would you just withhold it from them? And the reason I'm mentioning this to you, Mr. Prospect, is because bad things happen unexpectedly. You know this. You've lived long enough. You've seen people who are healthy one day and dead the next, or unhealthy the next. Why are you any different? All of this is to say, this is why you need this, because this is the what if policy. And life is full of what ifs. Does it make sense? That's kind of how I would address this at this point. Yeah, they just croak. Yeah, it's true. So a lot of people just don't croak. You know, there's longer life now, but it's not quality. It's quantity of life, but not quality, right? And quantity costs money, a lot of money, right? Sitting up in a nursing home somewhere. Does this make sense, y'all? So I think this is what you have to, this is really kind of how we have to go about anytime we run into, I've got enough money. A couple of things I like to say, I like to use the devil's advocate close. So you got $10,000 in coverage. Why would you need any more? So I kind of flip it around on them. Or 10,000, this is if they've got enough coverage, if they've got some money in the bank. I want to hear them I want to see if they have any kind of belief towards what I offer to begin with, just to see. I'm still going to go try to uncover the need, but I start with the devil's advocate question first. Well, hey, congratulations, you got money in the bank. Why would you need a policy? Let's listen to them say. Maybe they'll come up with the idea on their own, which is the best thing to do. Yeah, that's right. I didn't think, yeah, I guess I do. What if I spend this thing, right? If they're like, well, I don't know if I really need it, then that's when I would say, well, let me propose a few reasons why you would. Number one, what if you end up in a nursing home? How long do you think you're to hold on to that 10,000? Not long. Number two, what if you have a family emergency? What if you have to use even half of it? You know, bad things happen to everybody at some point in life, right? So here's my point. Then I kind of round it out by saying, we don't know what tomorrow brings. And this is why this policy is a good idea for you, because that $10,000 is just guaranteed in the moment right now, but it's not necessarily guaranteed when you die. And that's what our policy does, is it fills in and provides that guarantee. So money's there when you die. And then, hey, if you end up with an extra 10,000, fantastic. But we don't know if that's going to happen. And this is why you need a policy. Does this make sense, Ms. Prospect? What do you think about that? And I'll get their thought process on it. And if their response is like, well, I think I'll be fine with the 10,000. Inside, I'm like, what an idiot. But I'll be like, okay. Then, you know, you might also want to ask them, so what else are you doing for your life insurance right now? Make sure you're asking them about the other unknown need. Maybe they think they're fine and they've got a policy with some term that cancels at 80, right? And they don't know it cancels or goes up in price or has a 2-year waiting period. And now you've uncovered that need to then replace that plan, because maybe that's a part of the thing or part of the reason why they don't want to buy, because they've got that plan they have not yet told you about, in addition to their money in their bank. Sometimes it can come out like that too. So when will I leave? It's when they pose no need whatsoever. I've tried the fact find on an existing policy to try to find a weakness. They either have no policy or they have a policy they're 100% happy with, and the cash they have on hand or whatever they have that makes them believe that they'll be fine, I can't extract any sort of need or desire out of it. If I've done all that stuff, then I don't have a client with need or desire. So I'm not going to stick around. I'm just going to go find a real prospect.